Hi, it's now time to start rolling out the assignment. Well, at this point it becomes very much a project-based approach. In other words, operational decision-making, decentralization of authority, that's what it's about. A lot of decisions will have to be made on the ground immediately without hesitation, and therefore we have to give you in this session a number of practical tips as a senior consultant or supervisor on how to manage operational consultants. When executing the consulting assignment, there's huge pressure on the consultant to perform. Consultants usually have to do something at 10 times the speed of what people within organization do such. And there's pressure from the consulting firm on the consultant to do the project, to finalize it as quickly as possible, because then the consulting firm can take on another project. So discipline is of essence here. And discipline specifically in terms of boundary management. Now, when I say boundary management, I'm talking about time. How long does it take you to execute something? Task, focusing on exactly that which you have to do. And then, of course, your authority. What can you do and what can you not do? What should be referred? What can you take care of? And also being very assertive in terms of appointments, in terms of meetings, being there 10 minutes prior to the meeting, and finishing it on the time as well. Many times client companies come late and you have to stay there for longer hours. You have to manage this. You have to be very polite and tell the client, well, I've only got until so late, then I have to leave. So discipline is key, and that's the first characteristic of the operating consultant. An assignment diary must be kept at all times. This is very important, since at stages you will have to give feedback and report, and you'll have to give some backup proof for your feedback or your reporting. So it's very important to hold a diary, to make notes so that you can refer back to this. This makes your reporting very quick and easy and effective, and it also makes your feedback meetings effective. Then you can refer back to a specific time and date, and your memory is immediately refreshed. Of course, timekeeping is of essence. The consultant has to adjust to the client company and their working hours, and it's often necessary to start a bit earlier and finish a bit later, so that during their working hours you can conduct interviews and work with their documentation. Before working hours, if you come 1 hour or 30 minutes earlier, you can prepare yourself for the day. You can get yourself ready, get your program sorted out, and then of course staying a bit afterwards gives you time to just recollect all the ideas, to put them together, and to just make notes so that your reporting and your documentation that you have to put together becomes much easier to manage. Sensitivity has two parts. Firstly, one needs to be sensitive towards the client documentation and confidential information which they give you. But also the other part is being sensitive towards the organizational dynamics. There will definitely be huge attempts to suck the consultant into the organization dynamics, to make the consultant part of power struggles, coalitions, gossiping. One needs to steer away from this and avoid it at all cost. The moment you get involved in that, it puts the consulting firm in bad light, and it could even be mounted to rejection of your reports, and at worst case it might even be that the contract is terminated. So stay away from this, do your work, focus on the task at hand, stick to the project plan, and try and politely get out of any attempt to get you drawn into the organizational politics and dynamics. When doing consulting work, consultants are often subject to perks and gifts by the client company. My advice, if it's not part of the contract, if it's not clearly stated as your remuneration, stay away from it. This could really backfire in terms of people saying that you were bribed, or you were unduly influenced. So try not to do that. If it's not part of your remuneration, don't accept any gifts or any perks. That's not part of the contract. You do not work for the client. You're still an independent consultant. Socializing with the client company is most definitely quite a dangerous activity. I do know that it's sometimes required of consultants to socialize with clients. I myself have been part of team building events where it's required of you to go to the social event. If you do so, use alcohol moderately. Don't stay too long. Don't leave too early. If you leave too early, the client might take offense. If you stay too long, I'm talking about 2 o'clock in the morning partying on the tables. No, that's totally unacceptable. So at the right time, when you see people are starting to leave, excuse yourself and go. This could save you from immense embarrassment. Be careful with social events with clients. You could lose more work than you gain work. When the supervising or senior consultant visits the operating consultants, it's very important to set out quite a bit of time for this. Usually I would set out a full day for this activity. My process would be first to visit the operating consultants, have interviews with them, talk to them, look at their progress, their concerns, their views, have a good long meeting with them before you talk to the client. Then you go to the client and you work with what the client's concerns and views are, and you get a progress report from the client, and then you go back to the operating consultants and you feed back to them. So my process would really be first operating consultants, then the client, then again your operating consultants. At the end of the day, you are responsible for the operating consultants, and the client is just merely there in terms of feedback. So that should be your process. Where the supervisor is checking up on the operating consultants, the following is a useful checklist. Firstly, see to it that there is frequent and satisfactory contact with the client. In other words, the supervisor's job is to see to it that the operating consultants frequently visits and contacts the client company. See to it that the assignment progress is up to date and under control. You can do this through simply looking at the project plan. Are the deliverables met? Are the milestones achieved? Then you look at the assignment diary. Is it in good order? It's very important to keep this diary because this is the only reference that we have of what has been done and how this and the problems that it faces. It also makes the reporting to the client much easier. It also gives evidence, supporting evidence to reporting to the client. See to it that consultants are not harassed by the client. Often scope creeping takes place where clients take advantage of the consulting company by asking extras or asking operating consultants to deliver more than they were contracted to deliver. Number 5 is to see that the consultants do not take shortcuts in order to speed up the process so that they unnecessarily lengthen the project to increase consulting fees, especially to outsource consultants who are paid per hour. It would be to their benefit that the project takes longer than it's supposed to take because they would get more money. And then lastly, one should see to it that the enthusiasm stays high with the operating consultants. They need to stay motivated. The project is important not only in terms of money, but in terms of track record and status of the consulting firm. As the consulting assignment is executed, you'll often have to make short-term and long-term adjustments to the project plan. These result to various reasons. Hopefully it's more the client company reasons and not the consulting firm's reasons. But the client company people get sick, you can't interview them, or there's different priorities for them or something. The changes would mostly come from their side. Your task is to immediately make these adjustments in the project plan and to cascade these adjustments, the new project plan, down to every single operating consultant. So every time that there's an adjustment made to your schedule, this adjustment needs to be communicated to every single consultant. You'll have to redo the project plan, go back to the operating consultants and give them feedback on exactly what's changing, how this is impacting on the project, and what the negotiations regarding this entailed. Of course, a negotiation process should precede any adjustments to your project schedule. The Supervisors Report. Well, the main problem here is that the operating consultants were the ones keeping diaries, were the ones on the floor, were the ones that really worked with this, and it's not them handing over the report, it would be the senior consultant or the supervisor. So a good meeting with your junior consultants would be very important here. Get the feedback. And a very important point is, once you've written the report, give it to the operating consultant so that they can have a look at this and make their own adjustments. The frontline produces the bottom line. Therefore, they should know best on what should be in this report. Talk to them. Of course, regular liaison with the operating team is very important. They need to constantly know what's going on at your level, and you need to know what's going on at their level. A problem here is usually a logistical one, because the operating consultants might be on site, and this might be very far away from the headquarters of the consulting firm. Now, in this case, we've got technology. We've got Skype, we've got email, we've got video conferencing, so this needn't be a problem, not in today's day and age. I often work with consulting teams worldwide. I've been in teams where we form a team. One person would be in the United Kingdom, one person, myself, here in South Africa, another person would be in Saudi Arabia, and we would have somebody in Kuala Lumpur, and we all execute the project. We never see each other except on Skype and email and telephone. So today's world makes it very possible to work remotely. In terms of health and morale, it's very important that the supervising consultant or senior consultant keeps this up with the operating team. You should ensure by regular communication that these people are motivated and still highly enthusiastic on the project. If you spend a lot of time away from your family and away from home, morale does fall. Also, illness. A hotel's not the most sympathetic place for a sick consultant. So regular phone calls, regular Skype calls, regular interaction with your consultants could prohibit or stop any low morale from taking place. Of course, knowledge management is one of the greatest benefits to any consulting project. Apart from the money that you make from this or the living that you make out of this, you could learn so much. Every consulting project is a university. It's an opportunity to learn more, to internalize this learning. And to more people you can internalize this, the quicker you can execute next projects. So there's an institutional memory that needs to be built up here. So make sure that you internalize this learning, that the learning gets into the system, and that reports are filed in such a way that everybody can learn from this, because it just makes future projects much simpler and more process-based.